Buonasera a tutti e benvenuti in un altro episodio Belle Domande con I membri di Figlie e Figlie d'Italia. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of member interviews of sons and daughters of Italy at John Pirelli Lodge. Tonight I'm joined by my new friend, Dave Romano. We're very happy to have him. Dave, thank you for
having me. It's a pleasure.
Excited to talk to you and learn from your experience and hear a little more about your story.
Absolutely.
So please, just the same thing that we ask all of our guests. Tell us your name, how long you've been a member at John Pirelli.
Yeah, I'm David Romano, and initially I was a member of John Pirelli back in the 90s, but the demands of my career at that time precluded me from eventually getting as involved as I can, so things kind of slid. But we rejoined a few years ago, my wife and I, as also of Italian heritage. And so now we have the time to really enjoy what John Pirelli Lodge has to offer and to get involved.
Wonderful. So we're happy to have you back. Maybe you can talk to us. We can start with some of your early memories of the lodge, because there's certainly a reason you came back, our benefit. And let's kind of see what some of the things were that drew you back towards membership.
Well, I've been aware of the lodge for a long time. I've actually been a resident of Beaver Creek for like 58 years. So we always drove by the lodge, and of course when it developed its festa, it became much more interesting. So probably the earliest memories I had of the lodge itself were going to some of those very early festas, which were great. And then obviously the meetings back in the 90s. So I would have to say festa is my earliest memories.
I know that you have a place in Italy.
Yes, we do.
And maybe you can tell us about that.
I'd be happy to. So fortunately, after I got done with my training, I did have the time to go to Italy with my mother and father, and we still had great aunts and uncles and cousins that were alive at that time, 45 years ago, to stay with. And how can you not fall in love with Molise and Abruzzo? So I always wanted to maybe have a place over there because we went back almost every year, but didn't have the time. So now that I'm fully retired, we looked at a lot of places, and we finally found all the pieces came together to find one very near Isernia in Molise, and it's a beautiful place. And now we go 3-4 times a year and stay 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm encouraging family and friends and people to come and use it because I'd like it to be full of people all year round.
That is very generous of you, and Dave, I'm glad that we're now good friends.
Yes, yes. It's easy to get to, too.
So tell us a little bit about where it's situated, the environment. Do you have a small garden? Is it on a cliffside? Is it a villa?
It's so Molise is the region is divided into 2 provinces, Campobasso and Isernia. And Campobasso is the capital of that province, and Isernia is the capital of that province, and Campobasso is the capital of the whole regione. The region is the second smallest by population in Italy. It only has 288,000 people in it. Very ancient. 1 mile from our villa is the Museo Paleolitico. And it is built over a site that was found when they were excavating the road in the 70s. And it's what they call a lakeside death assemblage. It's where the people at that time butchered large animals by what was then a lake, and there's bones. And it was dated to, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
740,000 years ago.
Well, that's a few years back.
Yeah, and then also in that area, a mile from the villa, they found a tooth incisor of a kid, dated 583,000 years ago.
Well, he's been looking for it for a
while. A lot of history. So the history there is amazing, and in another life I would have been an archaeologist or historian, but the villa itself sits on the side of a valley called the Val Soda, and it's kind of in a bowl, very private, which is nice, and we have about 4.5-5 acres, and we've got 57 olive trees that give us about 40 liters of oil every year. Wow. and 200 or 300 meters of vines, which give us about 80 bottles of wine every year.
Oh,
So it's a lot of fun. But what's neat is it's 1.5 kilometers from the city. So if you want to go out and eat, or you need to go to the grocery store or get a light bulb or something, it's very close.
okay. So, but you're not there now. So somebody's got to be certainly caring and taking
Yeah,
care of the
so
place.
one of those pieces that fell together so that we decided to purchase this place was Daniele. Daniele is a friend that we met through a British a school that we participated in. His wife runs an English academy, and every year they have a summer school teaching English to kids, and we helped them with that. Nice guy, and he caretakes it for us. And with the bureaucracy and the complexities of buying property in Italy, somebody like that to have is a true godsend.
Wonderful. Well, let's now start to work backwards in time. So tell us where you're from originally, maybe a little bit about your upbringing.
Okay, so I was born in Bound Brook, New Jersey, which was at the time of my birth was a heavy enclave of Italians. And actually most of the Italians in Bound Brook came from the same area in Molise, and a lot of people related by blood and by friendship there. So that's where I was born, in Bound Brook. My father decided he did not want to work in the factories of central New Jersey. So he made an audio tape on his saxophone and got a full music scholarship to Morehead State University in Kentucky.
Beautiful.
Going from New Jersey to Kentucky in 1952 was like going to the planet Mars. And over a frog in biology class, he met my mother, who was a Scotch-Irish Kentuckian. And after they moved back to Bound Brook, lived there a few years, and then he pursued his teaching career in music back in Ohio, and that's where we've been since then.
A couple things I want to pull on there. So your mother Scotch-Irish, your father from Molise, which is beautiful. E una cosa Italo-Americano.
Si.
That's a beautiful thing, I think. A lot of our club members, lodge members can relate to that. Your father's musical inclination, did that rub off on you?
Yeah, it sure did, whether I liked it or not. So I took 7 or 8 years of piano and played tenor saxophone in a high school band. My sons actually have picked up the music bug much more. I have 3 sons, and they all actively play in bands or for enjoyment.
Wonderful. So I'm sure there's other lodge members that would love to jam with you when you're ready to get on the keys again.
Dad was a 50s jazz man.
Oh.
He had his own jazz band. Every weekend he was gone because he didn't make much money as a music teacher with his jazz band.
So I think that's interesting. My great-grandfather was in a 3-piece traveling band. He played the clarinet, but he also had other jobs. And what we're finding is this is fairly common during that generation to do multiple things. How do you think that inspired you in general? Because you saw your father apply himself in maybe different areas.
Yeah, Dad, very Italian ethic of family and hard work and faith. And so he worked a lot and worked very hard. He chose education as a career, which was not especially in the 50s in Kentucky and Ohio, was not a high-paying thing. So what I got from him, the Italian work ethic, he went out every weekend with his band, jazz band, and played at all kinds of venues. And that taught me, work. You got to work.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I think that's a really good example for not just you, but all of us. Okay, so Mom and Dad moved back out east then. This is where you came into the picture.
That's where I was born, yeah.
Wonderful. Talk to us a little bit about that enclave you mentioned. What were your friends like? Was there a local parish or church that you guys were part of? Any stories from that particular time in your life that really stand out?
Sure, absolutely. Well, so I only lived in Jersey for the first few years of my life, and then we ended up out here in the Midwest.
Okay.
But every summer we made the trip back to visit the grandparents and all the family that were in central Jersey, the Raritan River Valley. And I was blessed in a way because I was really a child of two worlds. Mom's world was of Kentucky tobacco farmers, rural Kentucky tobacco farmers who I said really didn't speak English. And then we would go back to New Jersey and it was all Italian in the home. But interestingly, around us kids, they wanted to speak English. They wanted to be Americani. And so the Italian that I picked up was Nablutan, the dialect, and but Dad didn't really push it very hard. So the ritual was we would come back, say hi to everybody, and then we would go from relatives' house to friend's house, sit down, have coffee with Aunt Izette. They would bring the almond cookies out. They would talk and get reacquainted. Bocce ball in the evening. In the community, watching the old Italian guys get kind of liquored up and fight over bocce ball, which is, I guess, the way you're really supposed to do it over there.
Still goes on today.
Yeah, and it was very enjoyable. Mass every Sunday, big dinner in the basement afterwards because it was too hot. Grandmother handmade everything from the pasta, the Vulcan with the pasta, the bacala. So it was very much, and then the other part of the summer, I was on a tobacco farm in Kentucky. So I wouldn't give it up for the world. It was very good.
I think that is absolutely beautiful. I think that's, it truly is an Italian-American experience.
And if I may, the commonality was both sides accepted the other. Now, Mom was a Methodist, so she became a Catholic when she went over, and then she was in the club, okay?
Yeah.
Dad, they thought, was Japanese. He was small, he was dark, he had orientalized eyes, and he was this thing called a Catholic, and was asked, "Are you Christian?" Yeah, actually, we started it all. So he would have Mass with an itinerant priest coming around to individual houses, but he was accepted in that culture, and she was accepted in his culture and learned to speak actually fairly good Italian. So that was kind of cool to watch that.
So Dave, tell us about the trip or the transition of your family from Italy to the U.S.
It must have been unbelievably difficult. As most Italians in that area of Molise, which had, every valley had its own dialect, bread, pasta, saints, they never left, as far as I could tell. My grandfather would have left when he went to war in World War I. He was Alpini, machine gunner, and actually was in the occupation troops in Yugoslavia afterwards. So that was his big exit out of Molise. And then, of course, he came to the United States and then came back. My grandmother, I don't believe, had ever left, I'm guessing, more than a 15-mile circumference from Boiano. So when they decided, he came over, and then she followed with the kid, and took a train to Naples, and left on the ship Augustus, which actually was a fairly famous ship. Came over, landed in Ellis Island, went through all the hurdles to go there, and then they reunited in New Jersey.
Do you have any artifacts from the trip?
Yeah, fortunately, they kept everything. So I have both my grandmother and my grandfather's passports. I have her ship tickets and their meal stubs. I have all of their marriage certificates, my grandmother's birth certificate, of course here their death certificates, and even her first communion certificate. So a lot of it was preserved, and that's been very helpful. My grandfather, I never remember him speaking in English. I never remember that. My grandmother, you could say President Nixon, and it's just a job in English. They were both not naturalized until about 15 or more years after they came over, which I really don't understand. But yeah, that's.
So was that the genesis for your family exodus to the U.S.?
No, the genesis was the fascists.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so you know, the Baferno Valley has been agriculture since 5000 BC, and the people there knew what grew. fascists come in, and being what fascists do, they decided those contadini didn't know what they were doing, and told them what they were going to grow as far as crops. And of course they said, well, that's not going to grow there. And the response was, do it anyway. The result was incredible famine. Now, my grandfather was in the Italian army in World War I, came back. They were they were farmers, and there was famine. So as they pushed back against the fascists infiltrated into Regione di Molise, and there was violence. And I think it was a combination of truly starvation and then escalating fascist violence that my grandmother and my grandfather said, we can't live here anymore. And that's how crushing that would be.
I can't.
I can't imagine it. And so they came over, and some other more distant family came over. Half ended up in New Jersey, half ended up in around Toronto, but they never went back. My great-grandfather did come over and visit them, and an aunt that was a nun in Bologna came over. I did meet her, but they never went back to their homeland. And they were in their, my grandfather was probably 30 and my grandmother about 28 when that happened. So they'd lived there a long time.
That's actually relatively old.
Yes.
At that time to pick up and leave.
Yep.
So many come over, whether teenagers or children.
Yeah. My grandfather had come over a few years before and worked as a groundsman at a golf course in Albany, New York, until he had enough money to go back and get my grandmother and the kids and bring them over. And that kind of a process, I've heard is actually not uncommon. You know, there was like a come over and a bridgehead. Now, Bound Brook ended up being a place where a lot of the Boyanese, the people from Boiano came.
It is so interesting to be able to hear how these pockets formed. So, man, I really appreciate you sharing that.
And I think that's true in any immigration. I mean, not just the Italians. There's always like somebody that, like I said, kind of
test the
did
waters.
The beachhead.
Yes.
Said this is okay, and then it was a lifeline, and they came.
Yes. Coincidentally, nearly everybody we've talked to has some kind of experience like that. My grandfather came over, went back to marry Grandma, brought her from the well, literally, and then came back over. So it's there is something to that, and there's a lot of trust and faith, because certainly
yes.
they didn't have the means to be able to communicate across the Atlantic.
It was a lot of, but it was a lot of sadness for what they had lost, but hope for what they had gained. When they came over, they had to have three things, and I was told this over and over again. They had to have a job waiting for them, proof of a job, employment. They had to pass the health that came through Ellis Island, and they had to have a sponsor. Somebody that said this is not a bad person. And when they came over, and you know, my grandmother cried when she first landed in New Jersey because the houses were made of wood, and only poor people lived in wood houses, not the nice stone.
Right.
They had been told that streets were paved with gold, and I'm not sure if they believed that literally or figuratively, but it was an adjustment. But what saved them was they were already immersing themselves in our Italian community.
I think it's something I'm thankful for. Sounds like you certainly are as well. So how about within your family, any memorable holidays, any memorable moments from whether you're growing up or with your kids or extended family? Anything there?
Yeah, we had all of those. In 1964, we went to the World's Fair in New York. Went across the newly opened Verrazzano Narrows Bridge. I distinctly remember my grandfather, everybody came, my grandmother did not, but my grandfather, Carmen came. And I remember being in It's a Small World and going through the Chrysler World of Transportation, and the fountains with the big globe that was there, and that was very, very enjoyable. Also at that time, we would go to Asbury Park, which people don't go to so much anymore, but that was a beach area. So after my grandfather died, my grandmother took the veil, the black veil, And I remember sitting on the beach at Asbury Park, baking like a tater, as my grandmother sat in her all black in there,
Yes.
but she wasn't going to take that off.
No, no. I think it's standard issue
Yes,
for all known
yeah.
as everywhere. Wonderful. Well, what about this, Dave? How about a family recipe? Something that, you felt like your grandmother or you had an aunt or a cousin that would make that was just tops.
So the two things that drove us kids absolutely out of our minds with anticipation was the smell of two things. One was she made an Italian chicken soup. And she did the volcan with the egg, and then she cut the individual pasta. So Nana was 4'11", but she had arms like a sumo wrestler, because everything was handmade, and the dough and the cutting, and she made an Italian chicken soup that just, oh my God, when that filled the house, people watered, and then the Italian bread, and that was just crazy. She also, different than some Italian, she fried the meatballs. Okay. So I grew up with meatballs that were small and fried. And we, of course, there was a whole huddle of us and my sisters and cousins all waiting, and she would dole those out and like that. The one thing she made that I did not like was a polenta. I don't think it was so much the taste as the consistency, and it just amuses me to no end that now in upscale restaurants, you pay a lot of money
for peasant
polenta, which is basically peasant grits. And I always thought that was the funniest thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. But those are some, I'm almost, my jaw starts to kind of sweeten up a little bit as you're talking about some of these things, because, I can really imagine what it was like being there. So you're a member of the club now. You've got this very proud heritage and tradition. Things that you would like to maybe share with club members, or specifically, one reason why we're doing this is to be able to connect to future and younger lodge members.
Exactly.
So maybe your message there to younger members, other members within the lodge that you would like to maybe just connect with a little bit deeper on something that's very meaningful to you about your Italian heritage.
The lessons that I've learned historically, going back, millennia, and up until right now in Molise, is I would say is the beauty and the honor and the amazement of the survivability of these people.
Yes.
Whether it was 400 BC wars or the invasion of the Goths or all the medieval stuff that happened, World War II was vicious in Molise. 30,000 Milesians were killed, and 13,000 American soldiers just in Molise. They survived all this, and they have never been what we would call wealthy, except in family, faith, and their work. They love the land, they love their food. Italians today do three things. They eat, they talk, and they enjoy their vino, which is fine, okay? And in moderation, too. And so I think the lesson for young people is how folks overcome difficult times, the fall of civilization, the changes of government, natural catastrophes, Vesuvius, earthquakes in Molise, and they keep going, and they love life, and they enjoy family, and they enjoy community, and that to me is something that I think Italian Americans can embrace and learn from.
Well, it certainly sounds like it means a lot to you.
Yeah. Well, I think it means, for me, John Pirelli Lodge is an opportunity to share our heritage in fellowship. And I mean, I think that's the primary, I don't want to say mission, but it's one of the primary beauties of this organization is to be able to do that. And there's so much Italian heritage that I encourage people that are interested in the lodge or in the lodge now to give what they have, give their stories, give their memories, give their time, and develop that heritage and share it with other people.
Dave, this has been absolutely wonderful to connect with you a little bit deeper and to get your perspective. I'm always very humbled by the immense joy and pride that our members have in their heritage, with their families. I would like to ask, especially in today's world, which is constantly evolving, changing, and there's different environments that are constantly contracting, economical, socioeconomical, political, things like that. What does being Italian American mean to you? So now you're not talking to club members, lodge members. You're not talking to other. You were just explaining what it means to you. Is it the core of who you are? Is it a thing that you think about? Is it something that you don't maybe always dwell upon? Has it evolved? What does that mean to you?
That is a superb question, and I think that it's important to emphasize that I consider myself an Italian American, not an American Italian. I was born and raised in this country. I dearly love it. I rejoice in its successes. I cringe at its struggles. But as an American, Italian heritage again can reinforce the fundamental base importance of family and faith and hard work. And the example of of the Italians over there and coming, their courage, the obstacles that they had to overcome, is an example of I think, how to do it right. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but the Italian experience is one that reinforces, I think, all the positive attributes of what America can be.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so let's transition to this. I want to hit you with a few rapid fire things.
Sure.
And then we'll move to close. But, okay, have to have it, can't live without it. Favorite Italian food?
Lasagna. And there's a million different kinds. So
there are.
Yeah.
7 layers or 5.
Yeah.
We're all 1 layer.
Yeah.
Favorite Italian drink, beverage?
Red wine.
Yes,
Rosso.
yes. I think that is hitting it every time. What about a favorite Italian word or phrase, or maybe it wasn't a favorite, but you heard a grandparent say it often, whether they stubbed their toe or not, or if it's just something they were always stressing about, anything like that?
The Italians have probably the largest vocabulary of cuss words on the planet, so I'm not going to repeat those. But I always like buona fortuna.
Buona fortuna,
Good luck.
certo. All right, so last one, asking everybody this. If there was one Italian anywhere in the world, past or present, or someone related to Italian culture, a historical figure or a family member that you could sit down and talk with, who would it be and why? Wow,
there are so many to choose from. But honestly, I'd have to go with Leonardo da Vinci. I'd love to talk with him. How does his mind work? How did he navigate all the politics of the world? To me, there's genius is something that is just so extraordinary. I could say Michelangelo too, but Leonardo, I'd love to have an afternoon in the sun with a nice wine with Leonardo.
Well said, well said. So, David, has been an absolute pleasure having you on.
For me also.
Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
Buona fortuna a te.
Grazie.
Grazie.